for their editing efficiency. So what we did was to edit a gene in rice called PDS1. What we found was that LB-Castol A, so the enzyme that we were working on, was having like incredibly higher amount of editing efficiency compared to any of the Cas9 enzymes that we tested. And another important aspect to notice here is that so when Cas9 cleaves, so you normally end up having a small 1 base pair, 2 base pair insertions. They may be templated or non-templated insertions. Whereas in Castol A, you rarely get the insertion. So what happens is like you get clean deletions with the Castol A. Then also what we observed was that in case of Cas9, it's easy to lose the PAM site. It means the repair happens in a different way. Then you tend to get like whole chunk of the PAM site also getting cleaved. Whereas Castol A tend not to lose the PAM site. So why it becomes important in research is like, for example, you want to knock out a gene for functional studies, and you also want to like do a restoration of the gene. Then you need to have the PAM site present to restore those genes using these genome editing tools. So like having PAM site can be useful in that respect. Then for our approach, what we chose was, okay, I mean, Castol A is like better enzyme than Cas9, but we stuck with Cas9 because of the NGG PAM, which allows us to edit more sites in the genome than the Castol A, which is triple TV PAM, right? So what we did was to then see if we can, as I explained before, the agrobacterium mediated transformation relies on the random integration of DNA in the genome, right? So what we wanted to do was to see if we can create the double strand break at a site that we want to create, and if we can launch the whole vector containing tDNA into that site. So basically, we wanted to open up here, for example, then insert the whole tDNA in that region, right? So the way we approached was that we created 2 guides at a site in rice. Then we also created 2 constructs in which the promoter for hygromycin phosphotransferase, which is a selectable marker for rice, we had a construct that was driven by a promoter, whereas another construct which was not driven by promoter. So what we did was to like target a promoter region, I mean the adjacent region to the promoter, and we wanted to introduce these cassettes in that region. So that the idea was that if a cell survives on hygromycin selection, it could be because the construct was integrated in right next to an endogenous promoter. So that was which was driving the expression of the selectable marker. So what we found was interesting. So we just didn't get a construct without promoter for a selectable marker integrated in the cleavage site. We also got construct which had a selectable, which had a promoter in front of the selectable marker, but got integrated in the cleavage site that we were looking at. But what we found was like construct without the selectable marker was like integrated more frequently than construct with the promoter that was driving the selectable marker. So, I mean, this is kind of a feasible approach where we demonstrate that, okay, we can land the tDNA in the site that we wanted to land. But this has one of the drawback, I would say, which is that if you look at blue bar here, which is the nucleotides highlighted coming from the construct, then you have mCherry, which is another color where you have, which is highlighted in red, right? Then you have green color highlighted nucleotide sequence, which is coming from the genomic site where we wanted to land. So what you see here, for example, in one of these, so we have 43 base pair of the construct deleted and 35 base pair of the of the genomic locus that is deleted. Then in the second example, we have like big chunk of 325 base pair of the construct deleted and 3 base pair of the genomic site deleted. So, so what does this demonstrate is that, okay, we can land genes in a particular locus, but this is an uncontrollable DNA repair work. So where you will tend to lose the bases both in the genome as well as in the construct that you are trying to land. So this gave us like an important insight that, okay, we really have to like evolve our technologies to do genome editing in a more precise way. Then the next approach that we took on was like, how does these two reagent delivery methods compare in terms of genome editing? So one is DNA delivery, that is by agrobacterium, and another one is DNA, RNA, and protein delivery by biolistics. So biolistics is versatile in that sense. It can deliver anything and everything that you want to like deliver into a cell, right? So for DNA delivery, we had a construct with selectable marker in it. For protein delivery, so in which case we had the Cas9 as a protein and guide RNA as an RNA oligo, but we delivered a selectable marker plasmid so that we can select for cells that has selectable marker plasmid in it. And then we look for editing events in those hygromycin tolerant cells. So we found an interesting aspect. So what you see here, for example, in the left side, is that we had fairly good editing efficiency in case of like CRISPR protein delivery along with selectable marker as a plasmid. But what we tend to see here was that the fragments from selectable marker were getting inserted in the cleavage site. So then we had CRISPR DNA delivery, where the CRISPR Cas9 was delivered as construct by using biolistics. So we again had these yellow letters in which shows that the selectable marker plasmid are the backbone of the plasmid was integrated in the cleavage site, the fragments. But in case of agrobacterium, we did not observe any of these DNA fragments, like broken DNA fragments that were going inside the cleavage site. I mean, so that leaves us with options now. So for example, you can, I mean, we can use this approach to deliver smaller fragment DNA into the cleavage site using the using non-homologous end joining repair pathway. Whereas if we want to like do a clean event of like clean editing event, then it's better to go with the agrobacterium delivery. Then what we also found was that the editing efficiency tend to be higher with the agrobacterium delivery because it has the capacity to deliver clean single copy or less copy um, number of CRISPR reagents. So that was also like more encouraging. So particularly like getting into like more depth about the type of insertions that were happening at the cleavage site when we delivered the RNP molecules along with the selectable marker. So you see here is, for example, example number 2, where you have 450 base pair of insertion, of which you have a small fragment of vector DNA, then a genomic DNA fragment, then you have a small fragment of vector DNA again, which were like joined as concatamers and integrated in the genome. Then, for example, RNP80, which is another event, in which case you have around 7 fragments of DNA coming both from the vector and the genomic DNA, fused as a single unit and integrated inside the genome. So each fragment is different portion of the vector molecule. Then you have the green, which is the site from the genome, the PDS that we were trying to edit. So this means that, you know, like, I mean, the integration events can be like can be of varied range. So they can be like simple, they can be complex. Then, I mean, this gives us like an important information. So if we want to use this approach to integrate DNA, so we are sure that we be able to like get this type of like messy events So that leaves us, with the open question that, okay, so we still have to improve the technology so that, like we will do it more in a precise manner. So is that like a specific aspect to like crop or anything? So what we show was in rice. Now we picked up Nicotiana benthamiana. So where we edited a gene called GFP, which is like a fluorescent marker. So what you see here is 16C line, which is a popular GFP expressing Nicotiana benthamiana line. So, and then you have a GFP filter where, for example, 16C wild type, you get the GFP, whereas we have an edited event within the Calais stage, we don't see the GFP, right? So it becomes like easy to screen the genome editing approach if we have a fluorescent marker, which is like quite visible, right? Then we looked at the genotype of the edited events. So what we see here, for example, highlighted, so there is one of the event that had like 394 base pair of the selectable marker, which was delivered along with the RNP molecules. Then we had 280 base pair of the plasmid molecule also in another event, right? So it's not like unique to a crop. So it can be like replicated across the crop. And like when we deliver the CRISPR reagents as RNP along with the selectable marker, so it's quite common to find this type of like fragments going in and integrated in the genome. So then, but you still have like events that were like more clean, but so just to like highlight, so just on highlight, so you are expected to get like this type of DNA repair outcomes with the approach that I explained. But there is like one of the advantage of like RNP delivery. So I mean, it's still not perfect, but it still has a couple of advantages. So one is that you are editing a cell at a single cell stage. So what happens is like the cells that you recover are like edited cells. But if you take, for example, DNA delivery highlighted here, in one of the example, for example, we in the T0 first generation plant, we see 1 base pair and 3 base pair deletion. It's a biallelic edited event. But what we see here is like in the next generation, we don't tend to see that pattern in one of the plant. Then, I mean, this has been reported in other crops as well. Like the reason being that, like if you have a construct inside that encode for CRISPR reagents, so you will have continuous type of editing that is happening. If that is like, that depends whether like you have recovered a cell that is edited or you have a cell that is recovered, but it is still editing. So that's called continuous editing. So in that case, it's kind of becomes difficult to predict what type of mutations are going to be inherited in the next generation. So that's why, we would certainly need like more technologies that allows us to edit genomes in the single cell stage, then have a predicted outcome which can be tracked in the next generation. So that will, that will cut down on a lot of the workload that we all go through. But as I explained, like biallelic delivery of RNP has its own drawback if we use a selectable marker with it. But can we remove the selectable marker and deliver the information, for example, as highlighted here, to edit a gene in which we can simply by changing 1 base or 2 base in the genome, we can create a trait such as herbicide tolerance by incorporating this amino acid change, for example. So the information can be delivered by double-strand DNA and single-strand DNA. Then what we end up having is like we have the CRISPR reagent, then we have information delivered, but we don't have a selectable marker delivered. So that takes away all the disadvantage that we talked about in the previous slides, right? So we did exactly the same. What we did was to deliver RNP with the information delivered on the donor template. Then this information was incorporated in the genome using homology directed repair. Then we end up having rice plants that were herbicide tolerant. So, I mean, this is incredible, right? So you can simply change an amino acid and create a trait I mean, this is incredible. So this can be like taken forward to like several other traits. So then we tracked these lines in the next generation, and we also show that these traits are heralded to the next generation, and indeed the HDR events shown here, for example, the second lane, are tolerant to the herbicide, whereas the wild type doesn't germinate on the herbicide containing media. Then we have when it is like no herbicide in the media, so all the events along with the wild type tend to like appear the same. So it means like there is some amount of like precise genome editing that happen, which makes these plants to behave the same when there is no herbicide. And just because, I mean, because there is the HDR repair that went through, we have created a trait that is tolerant to a herbicide. But overall, if we look at like what is the percentage of homology directed repair, for example, if you take like 100 cells that were edited, just to give you a number, so we have two competing DNA repair pathways here, NHEJ, non-homologous end joining, and HDR, homology directed repair. So it's more than 99% of the time the repair happens through NHEJ, even when you give information on the template to perform HDR. So for example, you can take like so many different crops and species. Overall, like the efficiency to perform HDR in a crop plant is less than 1%. So that means like if you want to have one plant that is edited and went through a homology directed repair, so you have to screen 1,000 plants. So the example that I explained is a selection system that allows us to select for HDR events. So imagine if we don't have a selection system that allows us to select for HDR events, so you might end up screening more than 10,000 plants to even find one plant that went through HDR. So it's still like efficiencies are low, but what I can say is like HDR is an incredibly powerful system compared to like any other DNA repair systems that we know of. For example, if you want to integrate 1 kb or a 2 kb sequence without causing any disruption or like unknown consequences in the genome, that can be done only through HDR. So there are like several other approaches. You can take prime editing, base editing. So I mean, they have an incredible limitations to perform the number of bases that we want to change in genome, or like the amount of information that we want to incorporate. So that leads us to a next step. So how do we improve these the homology directed repair efficiencies in cells? So one approach could be we manipulate the DNA repair pathway. Then another approach is like we have the information that is given on a donor template, so we manipulate that. Then third approach is like we create new functions to the CRISPR enzyme itself, so that performs better HDR repair, right? Then we have like, once we come up with different approaches, successful approaches, we can combine and create a cocktail of approach, which will help us to like break that barrier of low frequency HDR efficiency, right? But in order to like perform something like an HDR based research, or you want to like build technologies for HDR, I think that the most important thing to have is a powerful screening system and a high throughput reagent evaluation system. So one of that is like a protoplast based system, so which is an old system, in which case you take a leaf, then remove the cell wall using enzymes, then it becomes a protoplast. So meaning that now it is available for like reagent entry into the cell, right? So one of the biggest drawback with plant cells is like it has cell wall. On the contrary, animal cells doesn't have a cell wall. So you can see like reagent delivery into animal cells is quite easy compared to plant cell. Then another important advantage of protoplast is like from a single plant, you can make 10 million protoplast. Then for a single transformation experiment, you can use 50,000 to 100,000 cells. So meaning that in one day, you can deliver hundreds of constructs and evaluate which of the strategy works or doesn't work. That's one of the very good advantage. Then one of the disadvantage is that we don't have regeneration system for all the protoplast based systems. For example, even though like a lot of people have reported protoplast regeneration in rice and corn previously, but um, it's not like explored further after, let's say, the agrobacterium mediated transformation came in or like bialistic came in. But another disadvantage is like the protoplast regeneration system takes a lot of time. So the first thing that we have done is to cut down the protoplast regeneration system from its 120 to 150 days in tobacco to 60 to 70 days. So that, like we have a system that is low robust, and we also have a system that gives us plants quicker, right? So it's all about like high throughput and quick. So I mean, it's one of the key trait in technology building, I would say, high throughput and quick, because most of the time um, the chance of failure is very high, so that you can go back quick to the drawing board and come up with new strategies. So using this system, what we have done was to edit a PDS1 gene in Nicotiana benthamiana